So now we're going to look at information flow. So what exactly is information flow? Information flow is concerned with the structural features of sequences within larger texts, how we go about packaging our messages to create cohesion. It deals with the way in which we distribute our bits of information in a text in order to provide the right sort of cues to help our audience interpret a text appropriately. For example, a text author may wish to put bits of information at the start of a sentence as opposed to the end, as this may illustrate importance. So now we're going to look at the types of information flow. Now, information flow concerns many different aspects, and this includes front focus, end weight, left and right dislocation, their construction, it clefting, Deictic expressions, Anaphoric reference, and lastly, Cataphoric reference. So firstly, we're going to look at front focus. So front focus is literally as the name suggests. It is where new information is fronted in a sentence, therefore giving it importance within the text. Focus helps to create cohesion within the text. So an example of front focus could be, in the event of an emergency, please do not use the lifts. The fronted information here is underlined. As you can see here, this information is deemed very important by the person who wrote this sentence. This is also highly relevant information because if it were not included, then the sentence would just say, please do not use lifts. If this front focus information here were not included, then we would just assume please do not use lifts in any circumstance at any time of the day. But no, when we've got the front focus information, it indicates importance that we may not use the lifts in the event of an emergency. Next, we're going to look at end focus. So again, end focus literally as the name suggests. It is where new information is placed at the end of a sentence, therefore giving it importance within the text. So end focus helps us to create cohesion within a text. An example of end focus could be, the rehabilitation ward is also part of the main hospital. So in this case, the end focus information is underlined. As you can see here, part of the main hospital is not as important as the rehabilitation ward, and so it is placed at the end, therefore giving it end focus. Next, we're going to look at end weight. So end weight, as suggested by the name, is where a sentence is ended with a lengthy phrase, therefore giving it weight at the end. Generally, you can identify an end weight construction through the use of a subordinating conjunction. Now go back to the lecture on this if you don't understand what a subordinating conjunction is. So consider the following examples. There are a few special devices that throw syntactic weight to the end of a sentence. This device delays the subject slightly, which pushes the weight of the sentence towards the end. As is evident in both examples above, subordinating conjunctions can be seen underlined. This gives a feeling of weightiness to the sentence. Next, we're going to look at left and right dislocation. So dislocation is when a sentence is literally dislocated, meaning that it doesn't appear to make grammatical sense. It is used in order to emphasize or define a topic within the utterance. So generally speaking, dislocations are mainly used in speech. Consider the following examples. They went to the store, Mary and Peter. They're so loud, those dogs. Those dogs, they're so loud. As you can see above, all sentences are dislocated, which means they don't make grammatical sense. However, for each example, the writer has placed the important information, thereby giving it emphasis. Next, we're going to look at their construction. So their constructions are used in order to state that something exists. For example, there are sheep in the paddock. In the example above, there are is merely used to state the existence of sheep in the paddock. In this sentence, there really has no grammatical function except to state that something exists. Consider another example. There was never a problem with this computer. In this case, there is used to state that something didn't exist. It clefting. A cleft sentence is a complex sentence with a subordinating conjunction that has a meaning that could be expressed by a simple sentence. Clefts typically put a particular part of the sentence into focus. For example, it was Jim that introduced me to this fantastic job. Here, we are putting emphatic stress on Jim and acknowledging him for introducing me to the job. In this case, that which is underlined, this is the subordinating conjunction. Now, if we remove the it cleft and just convert it into a simple sentence, it becomes this. Jim introduced me to the fantastic job. In this example, it appears that Jim isn't really emphasized. So let's compare those two sentences again. It was Jim that introduced me to this fantastic job. Jim introduced me to this fantastic job. Can you see that in the first one, the it collecting adds greater emphasis to the fact that Jim introduced me to the job? Let's look at deictic expressions. Now, deictic expressions are literally pointing expressions. Now, these need to be understood in the current context or else they would not be understood at all. So types of deictic expressions can include person, place, and time. An example of a person deictic expression includes, they tried to stop me, but I resisted. Firstly, who's they? And secondly, who's me? Next, place. I love this city. It's much better than that other city. Firstly, what's this city? And secondly, what's the other city? Lastly, time. It's raining now, but hopefully the sun will appear soon. When is now? As you can see in the underlined examples above, each of these have no precise idea of their definition. Who are they? Where is this city? When is now? Let's now look at anaphoric references. So an anaphoric reference is also a type of pointing expression. So generally in anaphoric references we use personal pronouns to refer back to past objects. For example, when John arrived, he unpacked his suitcase. In this example, he refers back to John. As you can see, he needs to be understood in the current context, and in this context, he means John. On the contrary, let's look at now cataphoric reference. So a cataphoric reference is also a type of pointing expression. Generally, in cataphoric references, we use personal pronouns to refer forward to succeeding objects. For example, when he arrived, John unpacked his suitcase. In this example, he refers to John. As you can see, he needs to be understood in the current context, and in this context, he also means John.